Welcome to Monday Mornings with Michelle, the new business podcast. Whether you're kicking off your day or kickstarting your business, Michelle is going to kick your ass into next week with the essential fours: strategy, systems, support, and state of mind. Now, welcome to center stage, Michelle Nedelec.
Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I am super glad that you're here with us today because I have the most amazing guest, Aman. How you doing, Aman?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So I'm super excited to have you here today because I know what this is all about, but our peeps don't. So how about you tell us who you are? Give us kind of the 5,000-foot view of who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I am a teacher, to put it simply. I was previously building self-driving trucks in Silicon Valley, and even before that, I was a sales executive. I was working in B2B sales for large tech enterprises. And so after working in Silicon Valley, I realized that there was a huge communication gap between technical and non-technical people. And I decided to start a company that helps to solve this problem.
Awesome. Now you say that very coyly, and it's like, yeah, I got this little thing on the go. But I think it's super cool. So tell us a bit about kind of the actual project. How'd you get into it, and why?
Yeah, so, well, if you talk to engineers in general, they'll think that everybody who's not an engineer is stupid. And if you talk to salespeople or marketing people, they think the engineers are kind of stupid. Like they have a weird, nerdy people, like an alien race from the future, mumbling stuff in meetings. And so, me, since I come from both worlds, I quickly realized that this bridge is here to stay for a while. And the reason why most people don't, like from the non-technical side, are not able to be technically fluent is that they think that they have to learn to code and learn to actually become an engineer, which is totally not true. And I like to use the analogy of building a house. If you're a homeowner and you hire an architect and a contractor to help build your house, then you don't need to be an expert in architecture or engineering to be able to tell these experts, like, hey, I need this many bedrooms. I need an island kitchen. I want bathrooms like these. You can guide them and you can understand what they have to say and that is technical fluency. That is what is expected of you as an executive or a business owner, right? You could go the other extreme and say, like, hey, I just want a place to poop and I want a place to sleep and I want a water park in my attic. And that's an example of not being technically fluent, where you don't know what a house is about, and the last thing you've ever seen is maybe a sandcastle on the beach. And so again, technical fluency is about being able to make high-level decisions as a business executive around technology and have intelligent conversations with engineers.
That is awesome. And it fascinates me because I like having some technical background. Like I have taken technical courses before, so I understand kind of the gist of what's going on, but I know that I don't know what's really going on when you get into like conversations with real computer programmers. I say real computer programmers because I could write code, but I wasn't fluent in code, and I didn't think the way a real programmer. Like there is a vast difference. And if you've ever met me, you know that I'm not a quote unquote real programmer. However, I can, I can type some and I can copy and paste with the best of them. But like, how do you get somebody that is a business owner and they clearly think in a different way, right? They're usually visionaries. They usually have a plan. I love the water park in the attic things. That's usually what they do, is they'll come up with something like that and everybody else is looking around going, you want a what? You want a how? How are we going to do this? And everybody else is stuck scrambling, trying to figure out how to make it happen without, totally destroying the house. And then when it happens, it's like, oh yeah, totally. I could see that all the time. So how do you get those two worlds, getting together without colliding?
Yeah, the first thing to realize is that the business strategy always drives the technical strategy. You make, as a business owner, like, unless you're in the semiconductor manufacturing business, which is probably not your audience. Usually you're making business decisions first. You understand, okay, the gap in the market, this is what my customers need and whatnot, and then you decide, okay, this is what we need to build to serve these customers in the best way, and take it like and get an edge over the competition and so forth. And so the course is also about, how do you derive technical decisions from business decisions. And so the way you introduce technology to a business person is, you don't start teaching them how to code, because that's going to take like 5 years to be able to make, like, work up the ranks and become a technical executive. That's not the journey here. It's about knowing the big moving pieces of technology. Like, okay, I know what a database is, I know what kinds of database there are, and what's the main difference that I should care about. I know what is a back end, what is a front end, the basics of how things scale, how to, what's the difference between building something that's going to be used by 500 people versus something that's going to be used by 5 million people. So just, again, having these, they almost become like tools. Like, I need a bedroom of this kind because I have a family of 5, versus, I need a huge ballroom because I'm going to have parties. It's the same kind of, needs into requirements. That's how you teach a business person. You introduce concepts technically, but with a business foundation.
Nice. And I love this because clearly, as a digital marketer and with all of the technicalities that go on, I mean, even though I run the company, I don't know what happens on the technical side of the company. And so I can totally sympathize with my clients that are out, like, I just want to save the world. I don't care what you do behind that landing page. I just need a landing page. I just need somebody to go. And that's usually the conversation we get into is, I just need a landing page. And they have no idea what happens in the background for it. And it becomes, the eyes get glossed over super quick when you start explaining how much work is actually involved. And like, yeah, I don't care. And it's like, yeah, you actually do. So I mean, it's kind of paramount to how you're running your company right now and what they're going to get and how much you're going to be paying for it.
Yeah.
So like, how does somebody even engage in that beginning conversation? Like, if I'm, I just send them to you and go, hey, clearly you need to go and talk to Aman and come back and we'll have a real conversation. But how does a kind of normal people start engaging in that conversation?
Well, you mean with me, like when they're taking my program, or just in general, how they learn?
Let's start with you.
Yes. Yeah, so, okay, cool. So I get a good chance to give a free sales pitch early on in the episode. Okay, that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So usually I start with a personal assessment where I understand what their goals are, what they're trying to achieve. They could be, so if they're already, very technical and they just want to, get more technical, I'm probably not the right person for them, for example. And some people come to me with CS degrees. They just like learned it a while back and they learn how to code, but they never learn how to make business decisions as a technical CEO or whatever, right? But that's usually not my crowd, because I would like, I charge way too much money for you with a CS degree to actually get your value back. So usually it's helping the business executive understand that their goals are, affect how they should learn. And so, for example, let me see. If you want to if you want to go into industry and you want to transform, let's say, a manufacturing process through software, then the things you need to learn are very different from somebody who wants to build an app that helps people find lost dogs or something, right? It's a totally different approach. And even though technology at the basis, it's all the same, I focus the program more in one direction, like consumer applications or large complex systems, depending on what their goals are. But at the end of the day, it's about, okay, how does a computer work? What are the different moving parts? What's the back end? What's the front end? and the basics of cybersecurity, like how do you defend your system from hackers, how do you use AI, what does AI mean, why it matters. Yeah, it's just the basic stuff.
Basic stuff. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it sounds basic now.
Very cool. So who do you see needing this the most? Like, who would your ideal clients be, and how do they know they need you?
Yeah, the ideal clients usually are non-technical, executives and entrepreneurs, and it's biased towards people who are very entrepreneurial. They know that they are falling behind their peers who are more technical, and they see how the world is changing, and they feel this a little frustration that they cannot participate in the digital economy or whatever it's called, and they know that this is the future, and they need to be prepared. And so people who are like looking far ahead, and they realize the implications of not being technical, they are usually my target clientele. And yeah, when they hear about me, they usually check out the free resources I have on the website, and then they decide if they want to engage further.
Cool. So while you bring that up, what's your website? Where do they go to get the goodies?
Yeah, it's sandpram.com, and it has a few resources that may help people.
Awesome. We will have that on the website, but it's super easy. It's just SANFAN, yes? Fran, FR. Spell it out for us.
Yeah. Never mind the spelling. Yeah, it's just going to be, just click the link.
Yeah, well, we'll have it on the link for you, peeps. Don't worry about that at all. Or go to awarenessstrategies.com, and in our podcast section, we're going to have Aman's information. Anything, you can probably type in his name or technical mindsets. We'll have some keywords there for you to prop it up so you know what's going on. That is awesome. So I don't want to ask you again if you already told me this, but how did you get into this? Because I know you got a really awesome story.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I was actually writing these free essays online for like 3 or 4 years before I started this company, and I didn't even know that I would one day be a teacher or have run an education company in the first place. But I was explaining really complex technology in simple word for everyday people on Medium, and to my surprise, the essays got really popular and they got picked up in the news, and I was invited to give guest lectures in university art schools in Japan and organizations, and slowly I thought like, yeah, maybe I'm not bad at this, and so when the opportunity arrived where this was a real problem that I saw in the business world, and I saw that there's no other program for this because there's 1.5 million coding bootcamps and programming classes that you could take. It's kind of a race to the bottom for attention. Never mind, I'm not gonna hate on coding bootcamps, but I felt like I should create a program that can address this from a business person's point of view. And
to me, it totally makes sense. I mean, I don't understand. Well, I do understand why a business owner would go and take a computer course in order to try and figure this stuff out, because there really is nowhere else to go. It's like you either go and figure out what it is that your IT department's talking about and take the program, because what I've found is, I mean, there's a reason that techies talk in acronyms, because the long version of what they're saying is ridiculously long if you had to actually say everything out. Well, we actually did that in one of our classes was, okay, let's try having a conversation without using any acronyms. And it's hilarious because, I mean, it's so drawn out, and half the time it doesn't really, the words they're using don't tell you what they're really talking about anyways. So even if you do know what an API is, you don't really know what an API is. You still have to explain what it is and go through it. So it's and a little entertaining. Like, how do you?
Yeah, and even the acronym, the acronym programming interface. which makes no sense in the first place, even if you know what that is, right? So I totally get your point. The acronym is actually easier to remember than the full form of that word in general. And it goes both ways because, I've been in meetings where I use words like ROI and, the CPI, CPM with engineers, and they're like, whoa, what are you talking about? I've never heard what CPM, CPI, I don't understand these terms. So
I have no idea what a P&L is.
yeah.
Yep, I'm getting those conversations too. Wow. So on average, so you're taking the course with you, and is that set up as a digital program? Is it a one-on-one with you? How does that all work?
Yeah, it's a one-on-one program. So most of the content is very self-paced, but they have a pretty much mandatory one session with me every week, where we actually, practice their technical fluency, and they can ask me any questions, and I also ask them questions, to understand where they stand. So it's a lot of
Nice.
assessment. So first I address their level. I address that with resources that they need, and then I reassess. So and the circle just keeps going on throughout the program, so that I never leave them learning something that they already know, or give them too much to learn and they feel like this is out of their comfort zone. It's like, and this is a concept I took from language learning. It's called I+1, where it's always just challenging enough to be exciting and fun, but not too challenging that it becomes uncomfortable.
Nice. I love that. Well, and it also makes it pertinent because obviously somebody going into, needing a computer system versus somebody needing like a technical, manufacturing system, it's going to be a completely different conversation. And there's no point in that individual knowing what the other entrepreneurs need to know if it's a completely different business. So
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
awesome. Cool. I love it. So I always love to ask people, at what point did you know that you were crazy enough to become an entrepreneur?
As far as I can remember, I do not remember a single point in my childhood when I did not know for certain that someday I would have to start my own company, because I just never played well taking orders from anybody else, even though that's a terrible reason to become an entrepreneur.
I think it's one of the main ones, actually.
Yeah, it's a bad reason to become an entrepreneur, but you make the decision because of this, and then you figure out how to be a good entrepreneur regardless. And so it's the same for me. I just yeah, and I held like 7 jobs in 5 years, and that includes a 2 year break in the middle. So I was actually 7 jobs in 3 years, and so I was like, I tried this thing, it doesn't work for me. Let me just go and do my own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. My sister even fired me. So,
Wow.
so,
That should
yeah,
be fun.
I'm a fantastic business
You
owner.
still talk?
And oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was mutual decision. She just happened to be the one that dropped the hammer first. But
Right.
yeah, no, I'm a terrible employee. I don't play with that well with others. So yeah, I totally get that. But it's been to me, it's one of the more fun ways of kind of taking on the world, is just going out there and seeing what you got and seeing who you can bring on your boat, and off you go. So, way
Yeah,
rather be the captain.
and being a teacher as well, like being a teacher and not willing to take orders from anybody gives me like a double-edged micromanaging tendency. Because I'm used to telling people and teaching people how to do stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it's like, yeah, so the main thing I'm learning right now, or I have been learning, is how to be intentionally open to feedback every step of the way. So I have to actually remind myself every single day that I need to listen to what other people have to say. Yeah.
Oh yeah, your clients will definitely give you that feedback, and if you're smart, you'll pay attention to it because they're also paying your
Yeah.
paycheck. So in a roundabout, weird
Yeah.
sort of way, I guess it is like we're employees to our clients, but not quite. That's
Yep.
awesome.
It's
Cool.
trading, right? It's commerce. So one thing I say to that's one thing that is the foundation of the whole program, is that you're always engaging in commerce. That's how you avoid being disrupted, because if your customers are your trading partners and you know that your trading partners are not loyal to anybody, they're just loyal to their own needs and wants. If you see them that way, they're business people. Whether it's somebody buying an ice cream from your ice cream parlor or whatever, right? Your business partners to your life partners, everybody is just loyal to their own needs. And so, if you go with the intention of like, hey, okay, we are engaging in commerce, we are engaging in trade. I'm giving you something, like I'm helping you watch movies at home if I'm Netflix, and you give me money in return. Then you won't see yourself as, oh, I just help people rent DVDs, right? If you see yourself as a DVD renting business, that is a different mindset versus, oh, this is my trading partner. I help him watch movies at home and he gives me money. And wow, somebody else is offering to let him watch movies by downloading them online or streaming them online. And my DVDs are not the best deal on the market for my trading partner. He's gonna cut that deal off and cut a deal with somebody else. That's how you can stay resilient against technical disruption, because you always have the commerce in the trade in mind, instead of this is my business and this is what I do for a living.
Brilliant. I love that. Yes, poor blockbusters. They missed out on that one. Well, and yeah. It's a very intriguing conversation to have as to how you wrap your brain around thinking in a different way so that you're open to how technology is going to come in and how you embrace that. I mean, I was having a conversation with another podcaster just yesterday, and we were talking about artificial intelligence and how I think it's going to change the marketing industry. And we had a few different conversations on them, but I think a lot of people are either intimidated by artificial intelligence or they underestimate what it really is. They think that Amazon running an algorithm is artificial intelligence. It's like, no, that's not that's just an algorithm. That's just programming. We got that one down pat. So how do you think artificial intelligence is going to play into the business world?
Oh, wow. Well, if I knew for certain, I would be doing something way more lucrative than I am right now.
Fair enough.
But my guess is that I think over the next, so first of all, there's always going to be the early adopters versus the late adopters, right? So if you talk to my student who's from the gold mining, who's a gold mining executive from South Africa, his colleagues are used to paper and pen for literally every single thing about the gold mining industry. They've been doing this from the 1700s, and they're like, this stuff works.
There's been pencils and paper and gold.
Yep, exactly. And so that an industry like that is probably going to be one of the last few ones to adopt AI, because they have to adopt software first. Right. I think it's going to be a long tail, and it's also that AI right now, it's not commoditized enough. The technology itself is not commoditized enough where anybody can use AI to solve a niche problem that they have, right? But over the next 5 years, I think there will be tools, dime a dozen, like very commoditized tools, so that anybody can say, hey, I have this exact problem for my business that I need to automate. It's going to be like if you have a business and your business is basically 100 things that in a to-do list that you have to get done somehow. You're going to be able to, check off stuff from that list that, hey, okay, this I don't need a human to do anymore, or this a human can do better. So I think it's going to be used in a lot of small niche tasks instead of being like, oh, this whole business is now just run by AI. I think that's going to be a rare case. And you saying like, hey, I need somebody to book my meetings, and I'm going to have an AI email assistant who just helps me schedule the meeting at the right time. And that's one task that's taken care of by AI. And then another task might be, I don't know, just use your creativity, whatever, like small tasks that you find boring and you don't think you need a human being to learn to do.
I actually think they're going to take over things like digital marketing, because I think it's going to be with the computing power that they have, they're going to be able to figure out what words work for what people at what time. And I mean, it's when you have that much data, Facebook, Amazon, Google have right now as to what catches our eye, what do we read, what do we spend our time on, what makes us click that button. Artificial intelligence has to play into that because it's so quickly commoditized. Like you can make money off of it. So it makes sense investing in it immediately as the thing. So I actually think that it's going to be a lot more prominent than a lot of people that I'm having conversations with. So I think it's fascinating.
Absolutely.
I think it's something that we need to embrace and figure out how we can play with it, and how we can play with it intelligently.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those companies, which are like Facebook, Google, these are at the forefront of, digital marketing and all these things. And a lot of, similar companies out there, yeah, of course, for them, it makes complete sense. And I think they already have a lot of machine learning algorithms running in the background that predict whether you're going to click or not. And that is, I think, the first industry that's going to be really impacted by it. So I completely agree with you. Yeah, it's coming for digital marketers.
Oh well, we got a few years for a good run of it anyways. But awesome. And with the amount of gold mines out there and other businesses that are still running on paper and pen, need to understand what technology is in the first place. I think we got a lot of room for some heavy duty conversation with you. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Aman, for being with us here today. Any parting words for our guests?
Well, yeah, if you're a non-technical person, please give yourself more credit. I think a lot of non-technical people feel like they're scared of their own technical colleagues because the engineers make them feel stupid or whatever, that they cannot really contribute to those conversations. Your ideas don't matter, and it couldn't be further from the truth. You may have a very rich background, and you can contribute ideas that engineers will actually not have. And you can lead the engineers to solve the right problems. Because here's the thing, from an engineer standpoint, from a technician standpoint, let's say if you had to make a food formula for cats, you could make a food formula that makes cat poop smell better, or you could make a food formula that makes cat poop taste better. And both of them are very interesting technical challenging problems in their own right. They require technical brilliance. But I suspect that only one of them is an actual useful problem to solve and has a bigger market, right? So engineers are going to be drawn by the shiniest problem to solve, and you can guide them, and you can be the leader actually, and say like, hey, this is what we need to do, this is what we're building, and why.
That is a very interesting conundrum, and I can honestly say I have never actually contemplated the difference between those two things. And I think there might actually be a market for both of them.
Well, yeah,
anybody
you always
that lives
have
in an apartment might be going, I don't care if my cat likes the food. As long as it smells like potpourri afterwards, we're fine. That's hilarious. Yep. Awesome. So thank you again for your time. Love it. And hope to engage in some more awesome conversations with you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. This is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. If you know anyone who would make a great guest for the show, or if you have a question or topic you'd like me to discuss, please reach out to me at michelle@awarenessstrategies.com or connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to our show. I am all about being a resource center for entrepreneurs to give them the information and the support they need to make it in business. As such, I have Taking Your Business Digital Q&A every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Mountain. To register for that, go to awarenessstrategies.com/digital. That's DIGITAL. I look forward to meeting you and actually finding out how you are. So see you on the flip side.